Hey everybody and welcome to the shop. My name's Grant and I'm a boat builder in northern Michigan. Today I'm talking about setting up the Strongback for the riverboat build. It's gonna be a bit of a hodgepodge. I'm actually recording this one while I'm trying to get it edited, and I realize there's a whole bunch of information missing. So I'll try and fill that in where I can. The one thing that I mentioned here and there, but I never really discussed in the video, is that I'm using a chalk line for my center line. And I don't encourage that. If you can help it, use something a little more accurate than a chalk line. But for this particular build, it's going to work just fine. Unfortunately, since it's such a hodgepodge, it's going to be a slightly slower video. That's about all I can tell you. I hope you enjoy it. A quick gabbing. Let's get to it. So I've opted to go with a beam style Strongback. This allows me to get up into the narrower end of the boat, be it bow or stern, without anything interfering. If I was to build a ladder style Strongback, it would be too wide right here to really be of any benefit doing it that way. They're great. I love them. They're a stable platform to work from, but this gives me the ability to put my stem right up here and really lock this in. I can also do the same in the back end of this boat by just basically putting a block on here that's going to let me clamp the transom to the boat. So that is why I'm going to use this. The other thing is I've set this boat up to sit on the water line. I'm using waterline 2 from my lofting, so that just means I have to make sure that this is perfectly flat. And that's all waterline is a flat cut through the boat. So this way I can actually come in here and set all of these crossballs on my marks, on so long as I line up the water line on my frame with the bottom edge of this. That's why I just jointed all of these pieces. I'll be pretty darn good. Then I've just got to go back, level them out, and make sure nothing's twisted. But you'd have to do that anyways. But this way, all I had to do as far as leveling the Strongback was make sure it's standing plumb and then it's flat in this regard. Everything else is going to be done using the crossballs. So now I need to get a center line on all of these crossballs and get them screwed on. Then I'll be able to take the actual frames themselves and just lift them up into place. So I'm going to start back here at station 11. This is the point in my editing where I realized I never described how I actually got any of this information onto that. So starting back here on the Strongback, I have this cut at the same angle as my transom, but it's upside down, and we're using waterline 2 to set all of those. So what I ended up doing to establish this was coming down here to my lofting. I came up from my baseline, which was actually here when I did this, and using this mark, which is waterline 2, it runs the full length of the boat in a flat line, same as our Strongback. That's going to give me my distance forward or aft, however you want to look at it, to the inside face of my transom. Then I was able to take a bat and put it on that mark right on the inside corner, come up to my first station, which is 11, and put a tick mark on here. Then I was able to go up to my center line on the Strongback with that, put that corner on the back end, and then come up here and put a mark on the Strongback. The other thing to note is all of these need to be offset just a little bit, like the thickness of the frame actually, because I used the narrower face on my frames as my reference face. So now I need to offset these spalls either forward or aft, depending on if it's the back end of the boat or the front end of the boat, in order to actually have them in the right position. Hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, be sure to let me know down in the comments, and I'll do my best to describe all of that in the next video. Enough gabbing, let's get back to work. I went ahead and clamped my framing square onto my center line. This is just a rough gauge. There's still going to be a little tweaking that's going to have to go on. And then the other thing that I've done is, after putting a center line on all of these, I went ahead and I punched a hole through them, oversized for the screws that I'm going to be using to hold this down. I'm going to use a single screw on the center line just in case I have to pivot this a little bit to get everything in line, but it's a good starting point. So I'll put the center line of my crossball on the center line of the Strongback, making sure I'm held up tight to my framing square. And the other thing you have to make sure is that you don't move off of your station line. I'm in good shape right there. I like it. Yes, I do. But being that this is a chalk line, it is a very heavy line. So there's a little room for error. And then the other thing is, framing squares aren't always perfect. So keep that in mind if you're going to use this method. So the next step that I'm going to take is really truing up all of these crossballs. Gone ahead and made a bunch of these little pieces with a miter on one end. And I'm just going to go ahead and reach out as far as I think is practical on them, really. And I just want to get them attached to the crossball and bringing them back to my center beam. The other thing that I've done is I drove a nail right on my center line right here. And then I went and looped a tape over top of that. If you have to, you can always hook it on, but you want to make sure you're measuring off of your center line, however you're measuring it. Even if you don't have a tape that'll do a hook like this one will. The other thing I've done is I've measured out a given distance from my center line to the end of my crossballs. Same distance on both sides. Now I'm going to be able to swing this tape measure from side to side and get the same measurement. Let's see here, that is 5 1/8. And I'm just going to go back and forth on the station side of this crossball. Always want to work on your station side. I really don't care where the other side lands. Just make sure you get the same measurement side to side at your measurement. The more patience you have at this point, the better your boat's going to be. So now I have that crossball in the right spot. I'm going to grab it, screw, and lock this in. After I've done that, I'll go back and actually double check my measurements, make sure I hadn't nudged anything. I like it. We're in good shape. I'm just going to go down the line and do that on all of them. If you like these videos and want to see a little bit more of the behind the scenes stuff, you can now do so by joining our Patreon page. It's just a little extra funding to help make these videos possible because they do take a lot of time, and well, time is money. If it's not your cup of tea, no worries, you'll still get to see them here on YouTube. The next step in the process is to level these side to side. So I've gone ahead and attached a brace to this side running down to the center section of the Strongback. And considering we are using the bottom edge of this as waterline 2 to level all of these molds, I want to measure the bottom. The top can be rough, it can be different. The only jointed edge is the bottom, so it's the only one that I can trust as true. So I'll go ahead and actually clamp my level to the bottom of this. And I've already started to screw on the other side of my brace here, and I'm able to pick up on it until I read nice and level. And that should hold this nice and firm. I'll double check the other side just to be sure. If I have to, I'll bring it up to level as well with another brace coming over. But I feel pretty confident this should be good and stout. I'm also making sure I'm leaving all of this bracing shy of the end out here where we're going to be attaching the frames. Okay folks, I think that's about where I'm going to quit dragging my nails across the chalkboard for you. If you're wondering why this video was so janky, I've got a bunch of new camera equipment and I'm having to learn this whole process over from scratch. It's a brick wall of a learning curve, so please bear with me. The next video will hopefully be a little bit better, and I'm trying to learn this stuff as quick as I can. The video quality should improve, the audio quality should improve. If there's anybody out there that watches these that does know something like, say, the Sony a6000, get a hold of me, and I'd love to hear any of your advice. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and giving the video a thumbs up. If you do subscribe, make sure you hit the bell icon to see the next video when it comes out. Comments are welcome, thumbs up are welcome, everything's welcome. And I'll get out of your way and let you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.